Alrighty, so now I got 15 minutes. I gotta delete some stuff from my camera. Oh, and now it's letting me know that it's recording through the headset. See, I didn't know that. I thought it was, it did say that before. I had my headphones on. Maybe it's just how it goes. Alright, just thought about something yesterday. I wanted to do a video, and I just didn't have time, so I'll do it today. What I'm about to talk about, I think, is important to talk about because I would consider it a benchmark in the training process. So it's both a period of time that you can celebrate because you've accomplished something, and as well, it's an indication that you still have more work to do. Okay, and so it is really important to understand that. And I think there would be some people who would get to this point and think that they're done working the dog, but that's not the case at all. They're just halfway there, really, if you wanted to look at it as it is. So yeah, so what am I talking about? So say you hire a dog trainer, right? Dog trainer comes to your house, observes how the dog lives with you, what you usually do with the dog, and they start suggesting that you work at thresholds. What does this mean? Okay, when a trainer talks about thresholds, they're basically what they're getting at are doors, entrances, exits, any type of pathway that leads to another area, right? Practicing at thresholds is everything. I mean, I can't stress enough. It's definitely one of the first things I do with the dog. And it doesn't matter where I am. So it could be whatever door, even if I'm going into the bathroom or something, and a dog wants to come into the bathroom with me. I mean, I don't usually let them in. Sometimes it's fine. It doesn't matter really. But you understand what I'm saying? It would apply anywhere and everywhere. And it just sets the tone for the walk. If you gotta imagine, if you can't control your dog where the stimuli is just a door and there's more stimuli outside the door, how in the world do you think you can control your dog when there is stimuli present and legitimate stimuli too, like prey? So it's just good practice for you it's really good practice for you, really. Not, of course, it's good practice for the dog, but I mean, if you don't have any experience doing that, that's something that you really need to do, is practice at doorways. It's so instrumental. What do you think I'm looking at? I don't know. It's a mud. It's a mud. I'm not gonna start guessing. Yeah, I like muds. Okay, so so say you are the type of person who needs to work at thresholds. So you do that, right? You do all the work involved with that, and you get somewhere. You get some eye contact out of your dog instead of craziness, right? Good, that's great, and you should definitely embrace that. Keep it up, keep it going. That's great, but you're only halfway there, and this is why. So it really is a good thing, and you should just pat yourself on the back if you've always had trouble with your dog at the door. They go crazy, and now you're able to say, hey, wait, and they wait. That really is a good accomplishment. But the reality is that's the only half of it. So in that instance, you're basically suppressing the dog's drive, right? Or if you're using positive reinforcement, you're going to be centering that drive towards you. It's not necessarily that you're rewarding the dog for sitting. It's that because you have something that it wants, maybe more than to go outside the door, right? It's aligning themselves with you. You're not actually teaching the dog to sit. I mean, I don't think If that's the way you think, you're thinking really short-sighted and just really, like, not, I don't know. It's just a really simple way of looking at things. Like, you're just making the dog sit. It's more so that the dog is aligning themselves with you because you have what it wants. And so it's going to do what it needs to in order to get what it wants. It just happens to be that sit is something that it does, and that's convenient for us. You know? There you're really shaping that behavior. So say you get to the point where you have used effective punishment on your dog, which is really the way to go in that circumstance. I'm not going to if anyone really wants to know why I don't think positive reinforcement is the way to go here, ask. And I might answer depending on how legitimate I think you're trying to get the answer out of me. Some people, they post questions just to start drama, and I'm good on that. But I do have a reason why. But whatever that instance is, we're suppressing the dog's drive, and that's really important to do in some circumstances. It could save a dog's life, right? It's also a very relational type thing, like relationship type thing. I mean, when you do this type of thing effectively, you bond with the dog on a level that is very, very nurturing, in the sense that you are a leader in that, right? And that, I mean, just that type of attitude is, you're going to do as I say, and if you don't like it, tough shit, can be a very actually comforting manner to be. It doesn't sound like it, but it does take on a very nurturing role in the relationship, because you know what's good for the dog. The dog doesn't always know what's best for themselves. So you taking on that role has huge impact on how the dog views you, yada, yada, yada. But in that instance, you're suppressing the dog's drive. You got it. And that's right. That's only half the equation, you know. What's the other half? Releasing the dog's drive, right? Fulfilling the dog's drive, accessing the dog's drive, pushing the dog's drive, right? And the reality is that, you know, a good example of this in the context of obedience would be sending a dog to its place. So we point somewhere and the dog goes there. Now, I sort of said two different things: sending the dog to its place and pointing to somewhere and the dog goes there. Those are two different things. They sound like two different things, but they're really the same thing. You're just telling the dog to go somewhere. Okay? And that's really the other half of the equation. Okay? You have to look, we trainers like to look at the dog sometimes like an on and off switch, where if you can do both, if you can turn the dog on and off, no matter the stimuli around it, it shows that you have a deep relationship with your dog. I mean, this is just, you know, to get to that point, obviously takes work. You're not going to have just a dog who comes along and does that well automatically. Of course, some dogs will do it better than others, but I mean, to have it like I'm talking about, under the distractions, other stimuli and stuff like that, right? That takes work, okay? And, you know, it's really cute when you're dealing with a dog who's halfway there. You know, say you put all the work in. It's a lot of old school, just, you know, correction-based training, really. I really don't have I really advocate for that in that situation. They could be gentle corrections, you know. I don't know why some people may hear corrections and think that we're being overwhelming on the dog. We might need to be, because maybe the dog is overwhelming about getting through the threshold, you know. And so in that case, we would have to be. But, you know, you'll have the dog, and once they finally get it, that you're punishing them for getting excited and moving towards the, you know, the threshold and potentially out of the threshold, they'll get this look on their face, like, okay, I'm not gonna move, you know, and because you just told them no like 20 times, or maybe a couple times effectively, right? And a very interesting thing happens, right? Very interesting thing happens, and it's pretty cute, in my opinion. But it just shows that there's more work that needs to be done. And say you would do that work, right? And the dog did it. Like the dog stayed for like 5 minutes. Like say 5 minutes was your goal, right? The dog was sitting and looking at, maybe not you, yeah, maybe looking at you, maybe not looking at you, both maybe. For 5 minutes, and then you said it was time to go. So you walk out the door with the dog, right? That's the way to do it, is you walk out first. You always walk out first. But say there's a placemat outside the door or outside the threshold, right? Say you're going from room to room. Maybe it's not a door. Maybe it's from room to room. One of the interesting things that will happen is that say you have a place and say you send the dog to that place. Sometimes the dog will look up at you and be like, could I go? Like, should I stay? Or should I go? Are you telling me to go? Like, and they'll be confused. And that's the point, is that confusion is also not a good thing, right? You've done a good job. You've got somewhere, right? The dog is listening to you. The dog is paying attention to you, giving you eye contact, but you can't release the dog. And the reality is that could also be a dangerous situation if we applied it to, real world situations. And so you still have work to do in, getting over that hurdle, But then once you get that down and you can send the dog to place and flies like a rocket, that's when you're really working. That's when you have like the on and off switch. And you can make the exercise a little bit more elaborate in the sense that you can add other elements. But yeah, that's, I think the other thing that's really important to understand is that, when we're doing obedience, there's a little thing I sort of came up with by myself, like just, sort of for myself so I can understand the craft better. I might put it as a hashtag on my Instagram. It's just a trainer thing. I mean, when we're doing obedience and we're shaping obedience behavior patterns, one of the things that's really important to do is always be releasing the dog. So after, if we teach place for like 3 seconds, release the dog after they stay still. So some people say free, some people say okay, some people say break. It doesn't matter what you say, it just matters how you say it. You could say peanut butter if you wanted to. It wouldn't really matter. As long as the dog gets it, you're good, right? So, yeah, I mean, and the reason for this is like, we want to be the ones directing the energy at all times. And if we can put it into something that revolves around us, and then of course use positive reinforcement to reinforce it, I mean, you got a sure thing going, right? And, the reality is in life is that if you ever practice somewhere, like say here on the beach, right, there's going to be distractions. And simple truth is that if you practice inside releasing your dog to you or to a place or even after place, right, then you're going to have a lot more chance of getting your dog to recall in a situation that might have a distraction in it because you've already practiced releasing. See? So definitely spend time correcting the dog and suppressing the dog's drive, but don't ever forget to also access the dog's drive, fill the dog's drive, direct the dog's drive, and yeah, that's really it. That's all I got. It's pretty good. Did it in a minute. I got a minute left. I don't know if I have anything else to say. Let me see. We'll count down. Or we'll just look at the nice beach and I should shut up. This is like the number one era, right? That amateur filmmakers make. They have the sun behind the person, right? I don't know anything about film, but I miss watching film. I haven't watched a good movie in like so long. I have a hot date soon. I might take her. Oh my god, I can't believe I asked this girl out and she said yes, man. I don't know what I got myself into. Whatever. Now I'm just telling you about my life. It's not that interesting. Oh, the beach is so nice. Alright, I'm done. I'm done. Just get a last shot of the beach.